This is Jed Disler, and welcome to the Piano Maven, your friendly podcast guide to piano recordings. I hope you will consider subscribing to this podcast through my Substack page, and I've provided a link to do so in my episode comments. Well, what is there to say about that legendary Hungarian pianist Gyorgy Cziffra, who lived from 1921 until 1994? He was basically a law unto himself and kind of a throwback to an era where one could get away with virtuosity as an end in itself. And certainly that was true when it came to Cziffra's transcriptions and improvisations, or when he played certain pieces like Liszt's Hungarian Rhapsodies, or when he recorded the most insane edition of the Chopin etudes ever, and I adore his Chopin etudes, as some of you may know. But Cziffra also could be as serious and focused and forthright an interpreter as they come. And we have both sides of the Cziffra equation presented in a remarkable recital that he gave in Tokyo on April 23rd, 1964, devoted to music of Chopin and Liszt. This recital was issued on the Medici Masters label from the producers of the BBC Legends series. The recital begins with Chopin's F minor Fantasy, Opus 49. This is a performance that really moves, and the fast tempos never sound impatient. And there's a lot of wonderfully nuanced phrasing, and every once in a while Cziffra amplifies bass lines with an added octave or filled-out chord. But he does so discreetly. He doesn't always do this discreetly when he plays Liszt, but he does this more discreetly in Chopin. I think it's a marvelous performance, actually. And this is followed by a really well-paced second scherzo of Chopin, and it's full of imaginative touches and very shapely bass lines. I just wish there was more dynamic contrast, but that's okay. And two waltzes follow, the E-flat, Opus 18, and the F major, Opus 34, number 3. These are a lot of fun to listen to. The repeated notes in Opus 18, I see I can't sing repeated notes fast, but these repeated notes really take wing, and while the dog chasing his tail right hand cross rhythmic phrases in the F major waltz go fast, they're not breakneck, and there are cute little instances of accents and inner voices and fanciful dabs of pedal that are really a lot of fun. And also you hear fanciful but never vulgar details like this in the G-flat impromptu. I really like this performance. Next is the fourth ballad of Chopin, and this was always one of Cziffra's best pieces. I think this live version is a little brisker and more capricious than in his studio recorded versions, which I frankly prefer to this live one. I have a feeling in this live performance it sounds as if Cziffra has played this piece a few times too often. The only thing I don't really care for in the Chopin A-flat polonaise is that when Cziffra gets to the central section with the left-hand octaves, all of a sudden it just starts up kind of fast like an octave machine, and you don't really get a sense of the music emerging from what has come before. Although that lyrical section right after that is really imaginatively shaped. However, the four pieces of Liszt that follow on this recital find Cziffra on his typical Lisztian form, with the advantage of him being in his technical prime. The introduction to the Spanish Rhapsody explodes out of the starting gate. It's really wild. And the variations just go helter-skelter with all kinds of petulant accelerations and accents that are like bombs. It's so much fun. I keep using the word fun, but I can't think of any other word that can describe this performance other than fun to listen to. I mean, it's not subtle or noble like other Spanish rhapsodies out there, but it is exciting as hell. But also, there's a lightness to the articulation, and there's humor, and there's also color and dynamic variety, so that kind of saves the interpretation. The Polonaise number 2 never really establishes a steady, swaggering tempo. It kind of moves in fits and starts, but Cziffra always somehow holds your attention. However, this next selection on this recital, this is amazing. It's the most jaw-dropping, awesome, and insanely foaming at the mouth performance of Liszt's Grand Galop Chromatique that you will ever hear. I guarantee you this. And in this performance, Cziffra's accelerations and dynamic surges and all those bits of craziness totally work because they are just so nuts. They're so cartoon-like. And it just creates a whole sound world and aesthetic that you just have to accept. It's like a Tom and Jerry cartoon on amphetamines. You can't believe your ears. I mean, this is the most amazing piano playing. And Cziffra still seems to be on this adrenaline high when he launches into the final selection, the Hungarian Rhapsody number 6. And I think he's a little too antsy and he fusses around too much with the music for it to naturally unfold and take shape. And, you know, even though he plays the right-hand octaves, those repeated, you know, even though he plays it really fast, it doesn't really have the steady build and dynamic momentum and rhythmic discipline that make the recordings of Horowitz and Argerich much more exciting. In this sense, I think Cziffra sounds more excited than exciting. I think that's probably because he had put everything together and put everything he had into the Grand Galop Chromatique to such amazing effect. I think he really just shot his wad in that piece. And basically, the Sixth Rhapsody is kind of a throwaway in context. But still, this is a great recital, and thank goodness it was preserved. Georges Cziffra live in Tokyo, April 23rd, 1964. And if you are a real piano maven, and I know you are, you're going to want to get this. This is Jed Disler, and you've been listening to The Piano Maven, your friendly podcast guide to piano recordings. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to being with you next time.